Apparently women are debating who they'd rather be in the woods with, a man or like a bear, a ferocious bear. And I guess a lot of liberal women are saying that they would rather be in the woods with a bear. This segment is brought to you by Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Sick of fad diets that work for a couple months and then you gain all the weight back? Well, I'm down 37 pounds on the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic program, and I've kept that weight off for more than a year. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Bear or man? And I'm not talking about a man who's big like a bear. What do they call them? And they got all the fur. Some gay men are called bears. I've been to Cuff on Capitol Hill enough times.
Okay.
Yeah, the big guys, and they've got like a lot of facial hair and chest hair and stuff. I'm talking about man versus a real bear. So apparently this whole debate started as like a TikTok thing, asking women, who would you rather be in the woods with? A man or a bear? Man versus bear, which it's just a whole stupid conversation. But apparently nothing is too stupid for the Seattle Times to write an entire article on it, because the Seattle Times took this weird TikTok challenge where a lot of women were picking a bear. A lot of young girls or women were saying, I'd rather be in the woods with a bear because men are dangerous and evil, essentially. So the Seattle Times and a columnist they have who writes a lot of horrible columns, Naomi Ishisaka, Naomi Ishisaka. She's done some columns that we've talked about in the past that are just way, way out of left field, literally. So she writes a whole article, Why Women Prefer the Bear in Man versus Bear. Buckle up, buttercups, because this is a trip down crazy town. Even at just 15, my niece didn't hesitate last week when I asked whether she would rather be in the woods with a man or a bear. I definitely choose the bear. This never happened, but that's what she says her niece said. That's because, unlike her experiences with men, a bear has never harassed her, catcalled her, followed her, thrown a bottle at her, or otherwise made her feel unsafe.
Wow.
Oh, you haven't
Is that in Seattle? Sounds like it.
Yeah, if you haven't been catcalled by a bear before? First of all, okay, we'll keep reading, and then I have a lot of this to dissect. Naomi goes on to write, despite the loud protestations to the contrary, women are not just being paranoid. Worldwide, about 1 in 3 women have been subjected to physical or sexual violence by intimate partners or strangers at least once in their life, the UN reported. In the US, women experience 85% of intimate partner violence and are far more likely to be killed by that violence than men. There is nothing inherent about cisgender men that makes them prone to harassment or violence. This is, did they specify that it had to be a straight guy? Like now we're just assuming that the man versus bear challenge must only be referring to dangerous straight men who are the gender they were born. What is going on here? She goes on to write, this is not a function of some essential, immutable characteristic. This is learned behavior and can be unlearned. But we are raising men and boys in a culture where women are given tip sheets on how to stay safe and avoid being targeted, but rarely gives instructions for men on how not to be dangerous to others. Oh my God. The implication, of course, is that the responsibility is on women to be more vigilant, and if something happens, you should just have been more careful. What does this have to do with a bear in the woods? What does any of this have to do with a bear in the woods? Like, men can be dangerous. Yes, women can be dangerous. I don't dispute the fact of that men are responsible for much more of intimate partner violence. What does it have to do with the bear in the woods? And this Seattle Times columnist talking about her 15-year-old, I just want to reread that one quote where her 15-year-old niece said, I would definitely choose the bear. That's because, unlike her experiences with men, a bear has never harassed her, catcalled her, followed her, thrown a bottle at her, or otherwise made her feel unsafe. Well, that's because bears don't have posable thumbs, but I also would venture to guess that this 15-year-old has actually never encountered a bear. So you're comparing something that's happened to this 15-year-old, allegedly, probably not, with men, but like, has she ever been in the woods with a bear? Has she ever experienced what that would be like? Because it would probably be a lot worse than being catcalled, being mauled to death by a grizzly bear. I have to imagine, like, Probably much worse than having a bottle thrown at you or being catcalled by a man, if that has actually happened. Naomi goes on to say in this article, like most women I know, I too would choose the bear. What women do you know? I don't know any women that would choose the bear. Too many experiences over my lifetime have taught me that would be a safer choice. You really believe that being in the woods with a bear versus a man would be a safer choice? Like, they hate men.
Have you been mauled that many times by a man?
To be honest, she writes, when I was a kid, I never really questioned if it was fair or just that I had to maintain situational awareness at all times to fend off the neighborhood flasher or the creepy guy where I was babysitting. I just knew that I must. And yeah, if you lived in an area with a lot of bears, you'd probably be told to maintain situational awareness if you're hiking through the woods alone, lest you encounter a bear that could kill you with one swipe of its paw. But yeah, if you grow up in a city environment, you're probably going to be taught more about being cautious about your surroundings in a city environment, which, yeah, would include, as you put it, the neighborhood flasher or the creepy guy where you were babysitting. But if you grew up in an area where you were going to have encounters with ferocious bears, something tells me you probably would have been taught to avoid those encounters as well. Why are we even having this conversation? Why is this dedicated a whole little section in the Seattle Times? Have I gone mental?